And go. All right, guys, welcome to Western Obsessions podcast, episode number 1.
Yep.
I'm Kurt Belding, and I am with my partner, Steve Ficco.
How you doing?
And this is just kind of like a introductory podcast to begin with. We're just going to dig into my background, his background, how we came together, how we started the show, the future of the show, future of the podcast. Kind of just let you guys get to know us a little bit. But let me turn this over to Steve, and let's dig into... Did you know that I have a background in psychology?
You do?
I do. I have a degree in psychology.
This whole time.
So tell me about your childhood, Steve.
Well, it was broken. It was a broken childhood. I don't like to talk about it.
Okay, that's exactly what I thought. But no, man, give me some of your background. Let these guys know some of your background
Okay.
on how you got into hunting and everything you do, man.
Well, basically, I'm a native of Colorado. My background is a little bit different than what you would expect for what I do for a living. I'm a police officer in a major metropolitan city here in Colorado. I can't really say the name just because of kind of department policy stuff. So anyway, but I grew up in the country. I grew up, I'm basically a multi-generation cattle rancher that I've carried on for several generations. That started with my great-grandfather back in Phillipsburg, Kansas. So, as you can imagine, being in the cattle business, the cattle industry, and livestock and things like that, it kind of went hand in hand growing up with the hunting and the predator, control and all that kind of good stuff. So, go back even further than that. Like I said, I'm a native of Colorado. I was born in the early 70s, so I got experience the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Now we're into the 2000s and even past, and holy moly, things have changed a bunch over those years. But so growing up with having family in the cattle industry, we were always into the outdoors, and a lot of that carried over from the conservation side of things of the farming and ranching into the wildlife, and then, of course, doing the hunting and stuff like that growing up. I've carried that on as far as the cattle industry to my family now, and my immediate family, my kids and my wife, and I get help with my father-in-law, and like I say, so that's kind of what we're doing now with the cattle industry is we still have our cattle business. So, like I said before, It's a little different from what I do for a living because I'm a police officer. I'm actually one of the tactical team leaders on our SWAT team. I've been doing that for several years. So kind of a whole, mix mosh of different, you could say skills that have been all put together. But ultimately, it all comes back to how I was raised in the outdoors and the cattle side of things because I was able to take those skills I learned from, for one, being a Christian and a good person, and then roll that over to the love of the nature and animals and raising our own food and stuff, and then getting into nature with hunting and things like that. So I know, I know you guys don't want to hear everything about my background, but that's basically where it started. Native of Colorado,
Yep.
multi-generation cattle business, family. Been hunting since I was just a youngster with my grandfather and great-grandfather, my dad, my uncles, and all that stuff. And then, of course, professionally, what I do now, I'm a police officer. We're one of our tactical team leaders. So that's kind of in a nutshell what I'm about.
Steve's a busy dude. He does a lot of stuff.
Woo! I'm always running.
He's always running.
Always running.
Which is cool, man. Like, after I got to know you a little bit, just kind of seeing every avenue that you're doing, and you're always doing something, and I was super impressed with basically what you have accomplished, and which you didn't even mention, he did have a hunting show on TV. I don't know if you want to talk about that or not, but
Sure.
So Steve had a lot of experience in the industry as I started getting interested in the industry too. So.
Well, that kind of rolls into kind of how we kind of got hooked up in this whole thing. But prior, we had an outdoor television show. It was called In Pursuit of Legends. I did it with a buddy of mine. We had differences towards the end, and we decided to part ways. But it was In Pursuit of Legends. We aired on the Sportsman Channel. We had a whole bunch of different, not so many social media avenues back then.
It's changed a little bit.
It's changed quite a bit, but we were on television. Of course, there was YouTube and Vimeo and all that, or Vimeo, yeah, and all that kind of good stuff. So we kind of advertised on that. We changed the name at one point. It was called Fade to Black Television TV, and basically that hunting show. What we tried to accomplish was showing that we weren't professional hunters, and we did everything do it yourself, no guides, no outfitters, things like that. And it was good while it lasted, and we made a lot of good connections and had a lot of fun doing it. But this outdoor television hunting industry is not an easy business to make a living or make money at. I'll tell you that right now. So if you're thinking of doing it, believe me, you're in for an eye opener when it comes to it.
Steve keeps telling me that. I'm not believing him at all.
That's right.
I'm a knucklehead though, so like
that's okay. You're the businessman. You're the business side of things. So once the television show, we had that, we separated, and then we can kind of get into how you and I kind of got hooked up, I guess. And how that went.
Yeah. So I'll back up and kind of. So I'm a redneck from Nebraska, and I'll own it. Redneck as heck, right? So grew up in a little small town in Nebraska, and a lot of my hunting was whitetail. So grew up whitetail hunting with my dad, pheasant hunting, quail, a little bit of turkey, not a lot, but turkey they weren't that prevalent back when I was born in 1980, so I'm not as old as Steve, but I'm still pretty old.
He looks older, but believe me, I'm older.
Nice. But yeah, there wasn't a lot of turkey around, so we didn't hunt a lot of turkey. Nowadays, there's a ton of turkey in Nebraska, so I like doing a lot more turkey hunting. Anyway, just kind of got into it with my dad hunting, and super redneck. Just didn't know much about guns. Just here's a gun, point and shoot, fire, let it go. Whitetail hunting, and I really loved it. But I got out. I went to college, and the industry, the hunting has changed. It changed a little bit where you could get permission on farmers' land really easy as I was a kid, growing up, and we didn't have any land of our own. So as it started to get harder and harder and harder to get permission, I started getting more out of hunting, kind of backing up that way. And I got into girls and the college life. And
perfect.
Yeah, so you know how that goes. So I kind of got out of hunting a little bit. Ended up moving to Colorado. Got back into hunting. Wanted to do a big game. I fell in love with hunting elk, even though I sucked at it real bad. I think it took me probably 4 or 5 years just to even see an elk with a weapon. So moved out here to Colorado and just got back into it. Started hitting hunting really hard. And me and Ian, actually, we filmed. Let me back up a little bit further. I ended up buying an outfitter. I'm a little bit of a serial entrepreneur. I'm a little crazy. My wife loves it. Just kidding. She hates it. And I just love business. So I'm always out looking for new businesses, having new business ideas. My guys joke if I'm gone on a long trip, I come back and start a new company. It's just, I'm always doing something entrepreneurish. And I had an opportunity to buy an outfitter. So I bought an outfitter. And so I started doing some guided elk hunting. And what was that, 3 years ago, 2019? Me and Ian decided to go on an elk hunt. We filmed it because I thought it'd be fun and cool. Put it up on iHunt Colorado. And I mean, obviously we didn't do the best job of filming it, but I ended up shooting a big bull. Mm-hmm. Sure. And big for me. I think he scored like 320. So that's big for me.
That's a good bull
anywhere. Yeah. And Steve saw the video, reached out to me, and
I mean,
kind of how we connected, right?
Yeah, just on social media one day, and I saw this kind of video, movie thing, and I was like, that looks pretty interesting. So I pulled it up, and lo and behold, I ended up seeing it was Kurt. He was local here in Colorado, and then I knew about your prior businesses with Fit Republic and things like that through the police department. Because we had several officers that are in fitness, and they got their supplements through you, and they'd come to the gyms and all that kind of good stuff. So I knew a little bit about Kurt when I started asking around because I knew that he was the CEO of Fit Republic. I started asking around a little bit, and one of our mutual buddies basically said, "Hey, good dude, he really enjoys the outdoors, and you should reach out to him." So I just kind of reached out to you and said, "Hey, man, I liked your video. You ever thought about doing anything further than what you were doing on YouTube?" And that's kind of how it started, and it spiraled out of control. And now he's nuts over this thing.
I'm nuts. I'm obsessed. It is addicting, though.
It is.
Like, hunting's addicting to begin with. Like, I absolutely am obsessed about hunting, but once you start filming hunting, I'm completely addicted to it. Yeah, even if we didn't try to do a show, I'd be filming it anyway.
Yeah, it's that telling the story and then trying to portray that story to others who aren't there, which makes it addicting. Because you want everyone and who's watching or following to feel and see what you're seeing and feeling. Yeah. So you're trying to make that happen, and it is.
Can you pull your mic up a little bit closer? Yeah.
How's that? I feel like a radio DJ. Is that better? Okay, I got a mic in my face.
But to follow your train of thought it's because each experience that you go on, adventure, I call it, going on an adventure, is unique in its own way, and you want to share that with people, and you go back and tell the wife, oh man, we had this experience, you tell the kids, but it's not the same unless if you can capture it and show your friends and family and whoever else wants to watch it if they want to watch it. That's super addicting to me.
And it's very unique because you almost have to film and try to go almost overboard for them, the viewers, to actually try to even have just a little bit of emotion that you're having. Mm-hmm. And I don't think you can ever portray the emotions that you're really going through during, your hunts, the ups, the downs, all that kind of good stuff, the pain that goes through, for if you get hurt or you're hiking and your legs are killing you. You can never really portray it, but we do the best we can.
Yeah.
Because we want people to feel that too.
Mine's more psychological pain. My hunts. The excitement of the first couple of days of the hunt, then you don't see anything, find anything, have other hunters blow out your animals or whatever.
Yeah.
And,
oh
man, it gets rough. But anyway, backing up a little bit. So me and Steve connected. And he basically, he said, hey, what are you going to do with this? I don't know. I'm just jacking around, really. He's just having fun filming it. And he kind of opened my eyes to, hey, have you thought about doing something more? And then, dude, I've been running full steam with that since that day. When was that? Was that a little over a year ago?
Yeah, I don't think it was quite, because we did turkey hunt together. So it was prior to the turkey hunt, which was April. So I would guess it was probably February, March, I guess we probably teamed up and started talking about it. Almost a year.
Yeah.
And, the thing is, and you out there probably know, when you meet someone that you connect with, it's pretty easy to build a friendship. And so I feel like Kurt and I connected, Reese, Ian, everybody, the team, everyone seems to get along really well and connect real well and kind of have the same goal in mind, I guess.
Yeah.
So, cool.
And it's over communication too of what that goal is, and we'll get to that of what we're trying to accomplish with Western Obsessions anyway. But yeah, I mean, we just, I don't know. You opened up my mind to it, and so I just kind of got it stuck in there, and just kind of kept digging in further and further and further. And I had absolutely no clue what I was doing. All right, we need something to film this. I'll get a GoPro, and I refer back to my guys, Reese and Ian, of like, all right, what equipment do I need? About $5,000 later, we've got some equipment set up, and
it's not cheap.
And then all right, well, I'm going to go hunting. I'm going to go on this turkey hunt. I'm going to film it. I'm going to kill a turkey. It's going to be awesome. That was an eye-opening experience too, because the turkey didn't want to cooperate with me. They wouldn't hold still long enough for me to get them on film. I don't even think I killed one that first hunt that I went on and tried to film. And turkey hunting's supposed to be easy, right, Steve?
Well, is any hunting really easy? It is. It's definitely, if you do things right, it can be a relatively easy hunt. Easier hunt. Yeah. But you're right. I mean, just the amount of equipment, and for someone coming into this, just the amount of equipment, the knowledge of how to self-film if you're self-filming, or then have others come with you, like Reese and Ian, who have very little outdoor kind of hunting experience. We brought the guys in, which is our camera guys and our crew, and so you're kind of having to help them out too, because they don't know exactly what you want or when or what they should be shooting when you're trying to shoot and move. So I mean, there's a whole lot into this whole thing to try to make it work. So if you think you're going to be a filming your own hunts and they're going to be perfect, they're never perfect. Never. That's why these guys with the editing, magic. They're magic.
One thing I've learned, they can't edit crap. And sometimes I bring
Correct.
them crap, and they're like, Kurt, what do you want me to do with this crap?
Yes.
Crap will be crap. I'll polish this crap, but it's still going to be crap.
Yep, that's right. You can only put what do they say, lipstick on a pig to make it so pretty.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, it was a learning curve just to learn the equipment. A learning curve for, and I refer a lot back to Steve on the hunting side of it. I feel Steve had a little more knowledge on the hunt. He grew up hunting more out here in the Western style hunting than I did. So I refer back to him a lot on the hunting stuff, but just learning curve on like the first time I'm using my GoPro, I kept putting in either a slow-mo mode or time lapse, trying to film stuff, and just learning curve on just using little stuff like that. So anyway, long story short on that is it was a lot harder than what I thought it was going to be to start filming hunts. And our first season was a little bit more difficult than we thought it was going to be also.
Yeah, we had going back to a little bit of my experience with the hunting side of things. So I've tried to long ago I found out that if you're going to hunt in this state of Colorado or other states, you have to basically stack things in your favor. And sometimes that means you're going to be hunting with equipment that you usually would never hunt with, right? Or you weren't used to hunting with. So what I mean by that is I grew up a rifle hunter, but then tags became harder to draw in certain areas and things like that. So then it was easier to maybe hunt with a muzzleloader or a archery equipment. So then I had to master those pieces of equipment before I could go out after them. So there was that whole kind of ups and downs, learning all that kind of to make it work so well. But yes, this season we had playing this tag game, figuring out what we were doing. We thought we had some really good opportunities to go on these hunts that were going to be basically slam dunks in the sense of getting good footage. Now, not slam dunks on just killing or these huge animals, but they were productive tags that we thought could produce good shows, and unfortunately, karma slapped us in the face.
A little bit. I mean, I think that we did well for me not knowing shit, and we did well. I think in first season, and this season, I didn't draw any tags, zero.
Yeah,
tags.
that blew my mind because you were basically, if I recall, from where your outfitting business was, you thought that there was going to be 3 to 4 of your friends and family had enough points to draw. They were going to be good quality hunts for elk. And I get a phone call and you're like, nobody drew. And I was like, what?
I had 7 guys that we were going to guide this year, and not all of them should have drawn. I'd say 5 out of 7 should have drawn tags. No one drew tags. I didn't draw any of my tags. And I think that, this year was a little bit weird because of COVID, where I think that we had, from the numbers that I saw for Colorado, 50,000 more applicants this year in Colorado than last year.
And do you think that's due to COVID? What do you think?
I think so, man. I think people are at home, not either they got furloughed or laid off, or they're nothing else to do, and said, hey, why don't I try doing this because I can go isolate in the mountains somewhere. I don't know. I think it's a little bit of that. I think it's also a little bit of, I think we're seeing an increase in younger hunters with more like fitness, archery hunters. I think there's an increase of that. I think there's an increase in women hunters too, which is awesome. I don't know. What's your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I think what I've seen over the years of hunting kind of goes in fads, right? Or with the fad, right? It's either the cool thing to do or all of a sudden it's the worst thing in the world and I can't believe you're a hunter. But then the people that were saying it was the worst thing in the world, all of a sudden it's the cool thing and now they're doing it and now it's not such a bad thing. So I've seen that happen several times. I saw it happen in the late 80s. I saw it happen again when I was in college in the mid 90s. It wasn't, I guess you could say, vogue, right? It wasn't vogue to hunt, but now it's like these younger generation, and we'll even say it, some of the millennials out there that you would never think grew up in an outdoor family. All of a sudden, it's the cool thing, right? And we're seeing that happen. And not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just that generation that you wouldn't necessarily know would be or think would be hunting are now getting into it. But I do believe that COVID did have definitely a play in this year's season because I think you're right. I think people were at home and there was nothing to do, and I guess they got the itch and decided, hey, let's try this. And I think that's maybe a lot of the numbers that were spiked in 2020.
Yeah, I think so. And I don't want to get it twisted where I love that we have a lot more hunters. I think it's great for the industry.
Yep, absolutely.
As long as they're not hunting in my spots.
That's right. Stay out of our stuff.
Right. So, and I think, I think it's changed in the last 5 years on content out there for hunting too. So for me, I really enjoy watching some of these new YouTube guys that are basically putting on a daily vlog of what they're doing hunting. I really enjoy that. I enjoy watching Meat Eater with Steve Ranella. I enjoy those type of shows where I think the content has gone from, the older male going out whitetail hunting, dropping big bucks every episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's 3 minutes of actual hunting footage with 20 minutes of commercials where that got rolled real quick. And now the content has changed. And I think people are actually enjoying it, and it's being a little more glorified where they actually want to go do it now.
Well, and I think that kind of rolls into what we're trying to do with our show, right? Because the show that I had prior, we were very fortunate. We were very lucky. We were able to harvest numerous Boone and Crockett and Pope and Young animals. And that's what we strive to do. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but I believe that we were getting kind of into that, thrown into that same box that it was every episode killing monster this, and it made it look so easy and this, that, and the other. And then we started to lose viewers over it because I don't think that's not real hunting the way we do it. I think that it can be done for people who use guides and outfitters and this, that, and the other, high fence and all that. It can be done, and good for those shows that do that. But I don't think that's the reality of the way we hunt.
Well, I think that when someone watches a show that they're killing something big every time they go hunt, they get a false perception. Oh, I'm going to go hunt.
Correct.
And then it's because 95% of people that go hunt don't end up killing anything.
Correct.
And it could be very discouraging. So I really love the idea of showing, and we're getting into what we're trying to accomplish here at Western Obsessions, but showing a failed hunt of something that just didn't go right. And I had quite a few. I had a lot of problems this season and a lot of stuff that we got the truck stuck. Arizona just scratched the heck out of it. Survival on the elk hunt with no water. There's a lot of stuff that went wrong that I love showing, and because that's real hunting, and that's what real people when they're hunting will run into.
Sure,
that's what they'll experience. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, growing up, same thing. There was always something that happened, right?
Yeah.
And I think that kind of show, which we are trying to produce, I think that kind of show kind of relates to really, like you say, maybe 95% of the people out there that hunt is that it's not as easy as a lot of these shows portray it to be.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of getting into what
yeah.
we're
Let's jump into that. So. Let's jump into kind of our thoughts, ideas, idealistics, and just know, guys, that we start out with hey, this is what we want to accomplish, but it's very fluid. Like things change, and even though we have a clear mission in mind, things end up changing. Like just the other day, I called you and was like, hey, what are we trying to accomplish again? Because now I'm getting a little bit fuzzy, and let's go over it again and just kind of set our sights straight again. But I'll let you kind of.
Well, that might even go back to the business plans that you've been through, right? You set your goal on what you're wanting to do, but then a lot of times you have to revisit that goal and say, do we need to change? Mm-hmm. Do we need to, modify whatever we need to do? And that's, like you said, that's kind of what happened with us is we had to have this discussion and say, hey, what exactly is our goal? So I guess jumping right in, when Kurt and I first started this, I didn't want to have a hunting show that was no guides, no outfitters, even though 90% of our hunts are do-it-yourself, right? Mm-hmm. We're going to do it ourselves. But there's opportunities that pop up that we may use or go on a guided type hunt. And there's nothing wrong with those types of hunts. So I don't want people to get that twisted because there's people out there that think that, going on a high fence or using a guide and outfit or something like that is absolutely, we would never do that. Never do that.
It's cheating.
Yeah, it's
right?
cheating.
It's cheating.
Don't ever say never.
It's still hunting.
It's still hunting.
If you
It
enjoy
is.
it, do it. Who cares?
And that's really what it gets down to. And that's ultimately the core of, I think, our show is just enjoy and just make the best of what you have. And then however that turns out, that's what we're going to show you. You know, and we're not always going to be successful. Heck, we may not be 10% successful. Who knows? Hopefully not. But
God, I hope not.
I mean, we may not be, you know, just the best, you know, and I say professional because I think that people that use the word professional, real professionals that use the word professional are not professionals, if that makes sense.
I'm with
Because
you.
if I say I'm a professional, you know, they've come up with some formula that you got to do something 10,000 times to be considered a perfectionist or professional at that. And people, especially in the outdoor industry, that say, I'm a professional. I'm a professional at this, or I'm pro staff or whatever. That just drives me nuts because if you're truly a professional, you shouldn't be telling people you're a professional. That's my opinion.
I agree. Yeah. Well, I mean, we can go down that rabbit hole, pro staff versus field staff for sure, and professionals. But, you know, as we get, you know, kind of defining what we're trying to accomplish with Western Obsessions some more is, you know, our vision, my vision, us as a team. We really wanted to show what each hunt was really about. The goods and the bads and the problems, and not just, oh, we're going hunting and we're badass hunters and we're going to go kill something big, because that's not the truth. Like, again, I would not call myself a professional hunter. I'm a hunter. I make lots of mistakes, and I would love for everyone to see my mistakes so they can learn from them and they don't have to make the mistakes themselves, right? So I definitely want to show the drama of the hunt, the ups and downs of it, because every hunt has ups and downs for the most part, unless you get super lucky. And I'm known to be a lucky hunter, but the ups and downs.
I'll tell you what, I learned a good saying years ago from my dad. He says, I'd rather be lucky than good. And I live by that.
Yeah.
Because I really would rather be lucky than good.
Mm-hmm. But just showing what the hunt is actually truly about. And I think there's more value in showing, you know, we got stuck. We went to an area that we thought was good, and it's not good. There's nothing, no animals around. Let's try to figure it out, because that's what real hunting is, and I think that's what people really want to see. And I really want to we went back and forth on how to film this. Should we film it more vlog style, where there's not cinematic B-roll? Should we film it with a lot of cinematic B-roll and less narrative? And I think we came up with a good balance so far, right? I really like almost creating like a movie for each episode, each hunt we go on, where we introduce the characters. Hey, here's who's on the hunt.
Yep.
Here's the stage of the hunt. Here's where we're hunting. And here's maybe a problem of the hunt. And the climax of the hunt, maybe we found animals. And I'd love it to always have a happy ending, but that's not real life.
Reality.
That's not reality. And not every movie has a happy ending either.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been kind of my vision, our vision. I don't know, what did I miss there, Steve?
No, I think you're right. I think that just showing the ups and downs, the learning points that happen on each hunt really is what we're trying to show. Because like you said, we learn something on every hunt. Like you said, I've been hunting since I was just a little booger, and I'm a little barely older than Kurt, barely older than Kurt. So I've been hunting a long, long time in Colorado, and I've hunted, you know, mule deer, whitetails, elk, bears, antelope, or pronghorn, I guess is the correct thing, like pronghorn. You know, small game bird. I mean, I've hunted, and I have a passion for that kind of hunting here in Western Colorado. But I always learn something on every hunt. And I think that that's really one of the keys that we want to show to people out there is this is how we do it. This is what we're trying to accomplish. This is where we're trying to accomplish it. And these are the problems that come up, or these are the situations that happen. And we'll either learn from it, adapt, or we'll get kicked in the butt and go home and try to regroup and do it again next year.
Yeah. Yeah, and I kind of got twisted a little bit during this season where I got in that mindset I had to kill something in order for it to be an episode. And it kind of stressed me out a little bit. Like, there's a lot of pressure there. A lot more pressure than normal hunting without filming, I tell you that. And so I started getting to that mindset of like, oh, I got to kill something. And maybe an animal that I may not have killed, I may have let walked, I end up pulling a trigger on. And, maybe like that mule deer hunt that me and Ian went on where, well, Ian wanted the meat anyway, but I'm like, wow, shoot, this is I got Ian with me. We're filming. This show's going to look awesome. We have great cinematic B-roll. We got to kill something, make sure this is an episode. And I think I need to change my mindset on that is like, let the hunt be the hunt. And we don't have to kill something every time that we have a show to be an episode. It'd be great, but I just don't want to be caught in that mind frame of like, oh my God, I got to kill something or we don't have a show.
Well, and I think we got some feedback from some of our followers out there that basically said the same thing, is that they were tired of watching these shows that were just, I show up at an outfit or I stay in this luxury, place, and then they take me to the tree stand that they've set. They have cameras, trail cameras, and they have this, and they know what time this specific deer comes by at this time, and they show you, and they go up in the tree, and then here comes the deer, and they shoot it, and da-da-da-da. That's one style of hunting. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. But we were getting followers basically saying we're tired of watching those shows because, for one, either we can't do it, can't afford it, yep, or we believe that that's not the type of hunting we want to follow. So we decided that, you know what, we're just going to produce a show that just basically shows our ups, downs, the success, the failures, all that kind of stuff, and that's what we're going to produce. And hopefully there's more success than failures, but that's maybe part of how we're doing things, that it could be the opposite way.
That's right. And there's a lot that goes into this that I didn't even realize is even the tag game, playing, draws, the tag points and each state and when to draw and how many points you got for this and what unit to hunt in. And that's a complicated game right there. Just to try to get an opportunity to get on more mature animals within that unit. So I don't know if you want to get into that or not, but there's a lot more to hunting and filming a show than what it looks like.
Oh yeah,
especially being successful.
I think maybe in our one of our other podcasts we'll get into the whole tag game, different states and when to apply and when not and all that kind of good stuff, because we have a whole spreadsheet on that and when, how, why, and where. So that would take up a long section itself. So maybe we can get into that in another podcast.
That's good. Hey, Ian, I'm going to pause this real quick and just check to see if you got any questions to come upon on Instagram here.
We do not. There was that one. Well, yeah, someone asked what kind of animals you like to marry.
What kind of animals would I like to marry?
Right.
Ooh, if I had to marry an animal, what animal would you marry? Temperament. You got to check temperament of animals.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm going to go, that's a tough one. I'm going to marry something soft.
I mean, I'm very soft. Drawn to an elk, right?
Coarse hair.
Dull sheep?
Oh, dull sheep. Oh, they live too high in the... It's too cold.
All right, we ain't got to head down that rabbit hole.
Yeah,
I feel like we're bordering the line of bestiality right there.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't think we need to go down that. Ian, I see one here on Instagram. Here, let me grab my phone and read it since you're not paying attention. Appreciate your work, though, Ian.
I don't see it anywhere. I see no questions.
Do we like fishing? From Mr. Riccardi, 1505.
Oh, Mr. Riccardi, I just got back from fishing. While these boys were down in Arizona, I ended up going back to Kansas, picking up some feed for the cattle, and we ended up stopping on one of the lakes that's local in that central part of Kansas, and we caught, in the 3 days that I only fished one day, and we ended up catching 25 crappie in about 2 hours. But my buddies out there, they caught over 150 fish between about 6 of them over about 4 days, and it's right before ice on, so it's about to freeze up. And these schools of crappie were humongous. I mean, thousands of crappies in these huge schools, and it was a lot of fun. But yes, we do a lot of fishing. We absolutely do.
I grew up fishing farm ponds in Nebraska, so I'm super spoiled with that. If you get landed on a couple good farm ponds, man, you're cranking in 3 to 6 pound bass every cast. Super spoiled. I actually took my wife fishing over the 4th of July this last year, and we tore into some good bass. we also caught a bunch of chiggers.
Oh yeah, yep.
She will not go back hunting or
And
fishing.
if you don't
on
know
those
what a
ponds.
chigger is, let me tell you what. They're basically a no-see-em. They're a tiny little bug that's Midwest and back, because we don't have many chiggers here in Colorado.
Yeah.
And basically what they do is they'll crawl on your legs and up into the warm parts of your body, so groin, armpits, all that kind of stuff, and then they basically bite you and burrow in.
Yeah.
And then they leave this little scab that itches, and it takes
It's the
forever to
worst.
heal. And they are terrible.
I
They're terrible.
I got chiggers twice this year.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Well, one of my Marine buddies, all you military out there, thank you for your service. But one of my Marine buddies who was back in somewhere back South Carolina-ish, they basically wore pantyhose under their fatigues when they were out doing their night,
That's a great idea.
stuff, because it kept them from getting eaten up, because those chiggers are terrible. Terrible.
But anyway, fishing.
Fishing, yeah.
I grew up fishing. I love fishing. I find fishing in Colorado to be a little more difficult than Nebraska farm pond, Nebraska lakes. But yeah, man, I like fishing. We'll probably do a lot of fishing.
Yes,
this summer.
absolutely. Our one of our other team members, Ryan, who's my nephew, Ryan Shamblin, he's a huge fisherman. We do a lot of fishing here in Colorado. So we do fly fishing, mountain lakes, of course, the famous streams like the Miracle Mile, things like that. The Dream Stream here in Colorado. We do that. So we do a lot of that kind of stuff. Then we'll hit the walleyes and do some spring walleye stuff when they're spawning. Then summer comes around. We're going back to Nebraska doing McConaughey stuff. So yeah, we do a lot of fishing, and that kind of leads right into the hunting season. So we get to go do some fishing, some turkey hunting first. Then we get into the fishing, and then we get to get into the fall hunting season.
Yeah, it's gone quick. It's coming. It's not far behind.
Yep.
So Scott Bowling says he appreciates your service,
Hey, thank you, Scott. I appreciate that, brother.
and we got Mr. Riccardi again, 1505. What kind of weapons do they use? I think when he's saying marry, I think mean kill. There again. What kind of weapons do we use to hunt with?
Well, like I said earlier, I play the tag game, so I want to be able to continue to hunt either certain areas or certain species throughout Colorado and other states. So I basically have made myself learn and be proficient in archery equipment, muzzleloading equipment, and rifle equipment. I've never crossbow hunted. Have you ever crossbow hunted?
I've not crossbow hunted myself. I took my daughter this year crossbow hunting, so just getting into crossbow hunting real quick is I'd rather use a compound bow.
Sure.
Just because I'm very comfortable and very familiar with a compound bow. I don't think anything negatively on a crossbow, especially if you can't pull a bow back, you have an injury, handicap of any sort. And I think it's awesome for youth hunting, where like someone young, where they maybe not want to feel that big kick of a rifle, can't pull a compound bow back enough to kill the animal, they can still hunt with a crossbow. So I think it's great for youth hunting for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So now if we later on in one of our episodes, we'll get into actually the equipment we use. So what type of bows we like, what brand, what type of arrows, what grain, what broadheads, what rifles. I grew up with what I do now. I'm also on our sniper team, so I shoot a lot of long distance. I grew up shooting long distance prior to my police career, but that's also part of what we do is long distance hunting. And some people think that that's super unethical, but it's only unethical if you're not good at it and you don't know how to do it. And we are very proficient in our long range hunting. So we'll get into our rifles, our calibers, our bullets, all in another episode, and we'll kind of break that down too.
Yeah. And for me, that's something new. For me, growing up in Nebraska, you didn't have to shoot over 200 yards.
Right.
There was just no situation ever to shoot over 200 yards at an animal. And if you shot 300 yards, that was unheard of. Like, what are you doing? Why would you do that? But out here, from canyon to canyon, you absolutely have to. So that's something I need to get better at is long range shooting. I spend a lot more of my time getting really very proficient with my bow, archery hunting. But this next year, I can see myself doing a lot more gun hunting.
Yeah, and we're going to also, in the future, We are also going to do some long-range hunting schools where myself and then some of my other fellow long-range shooters, I should say, if you guys kind of get the underlying tone there, that maybe I work with, we're going to teach some long-range shooting and do some schools. And basically the way that it goes is it'll be a 3-day course, and we basically start from beginning of your fundamentals all the way up to shooting about 775 yards is basically what we feel for a hunting situation is kind of doable with the right equipment, the right skill, and stuff like that. Now, I'm not saying everybody, just because you buy the right equipment, shoot 775, but that's where our school will end up, is you will shoot 775 on steel and learn how to be proficient. So we'll end up doing that in the future. So we'll look forward for those schools because we're going to be putting those on this summer.
Yep, absolutely. We've got a couple more questions here. Where'd it go?
How are you?
No, we've got one here. It says, have you ever snuggled up in the same sleeping bag to stay warm?
Ooh. Have we ever actually even...
I don't think we've even camped together yet.
Well, we did in my trailer.
Oh, yeah, in your trailer. On Beth's hunt.
My wife's hunt, yes, we did.
Uh-huh.
No, never snuggled. But if it was cold enough and I was going to die, 100%, I'd be snuggling with this dude right here. I mean, look at these arms. I mean, look at that. Yeah,
You're embarrassing me, Steve. Stop it. No, I've never had to snuggle up with anybody hunting. But I can see the situation where you may have to. So I guess we may have to snuggle up in the future, Steve. I don't know.
If it's life or death, we're going to be spooning for sure.
All right, I think that's most of the questions, unless I got something on Facebook here. And then just some good comments. Appreciate all you guys with the comments on Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah,
really no
sure.
other question, but some good comments out there. So yeah, guys, this is our first episode of Western Obsessions TV podcast, first one. And I think in the future, we want to do a lot more educational stuff on the podcast,
Yes.
right? Long range shooting, what gear do we use, maybe some tactics and hunting and which animal we're hunting, whether it be elk, deer, turkey, fishing even, or whatever. But yeah, you have any more thoughts on the future of our podcast?
Well, I think ultimately, I want to just say, and you and I have agreed on this, that by no means are we, or do we feel that we are expert or professional hunters. We both agreed on that, and I don't believe that. I believe that the way that we have learned over the years to do it the way we do it has made us good at what we do, and we would like to pass on those tips and tactics to our viewers out there, our followers, so that you may take even, maybe not the whole thing, but maybe just a piece of what we do and how we do it, and maybe you put that in your toolbox, and that makes you just that much better. But by no means are we asking or wanting anybody to think that we are, expert hunters or anything like that. We're not. We're good at what we do, and you will see that in the future, that we will be able to do very fun, good hunts, but by no means are we professionals or experts.
That's right. And we're just like everybody else out there. I'm just been very fortunate to be more successful than not. Mm-hmm. And I think the biggest thing for me is I want to bring everybody along the adventures that we're going on, whether or not we're killing something or not, or catching fish or not, just to take them along with the adventure so they can experience kind of a little bit. Like you said, it's really hard to show the entire story, this entire picture, just because you would have to be filming literally every minute of every day. Yes. And that's just not possible. But we want to get it as close as possible so they can experience what we're experiencing.
Absolutely. And I believe me, I watch several hunting shows out there. Some of the hunting shows and some of the people I've met over the years on these hunting shows, I have my own opinions about them. Maybe different than what you would think they are on television, and that's the persona that they want to put out, that they're this way, and they're in reality they're another way, and that's fine. But I do watch several shows out there, and the shows that I really enjoy watching are those shows that tell the story, that really tell the whole story, and the success and the failures of the stories. Those are the ones I like, and because I think it's more true to what we do, and most people out there is hunting experiences.
Yep, I agree 100%. Well, guys, if we don't have any more questions on social since we're live. All right. Well, hey guys, thanks for watching or listening. I think might put this on in some audio places too, but for sure we're gonna be housing this on our YouTube channel, Western Obsessions TV. You can find us there. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram. We do not have a Twitter yet. I don't know if you want to head that one up, Steve.
No.
Twitter's not for me, but
No.
I have too
No
many
Twitter.
social media platforms the way it is. So you can definitely find us on YouTube, and that is the first one in the books, man.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd like to thank everyone for being here, kind of following along, listening to us. Hopefully you got some idea of what we're about and what we're doing. And again, you guys stay safe out there with all this COVID stuff going on. And like I said, thank you so much for being here. God bless. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Continue to watch Western Obsessions.
Find us on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Ring the bell. You don't want to miss an episode. Thanks, guys.